All right, well, Proverbs 24 is going to get into some principles of leadership and emotional maturity, which are great things for us to be thinking about and considering, especially in our day and age. So, verse 1, be not thou envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them. So, again, don't wish you were like those people because they're not doing things right. Basically, if they're doing great, that's fine. But if they're doing wicked to be great, then it's not going to end well. So don't try to be like them. Verse 2, for their heart studieth destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. This is an important thing to consider. People who are wicked, if they are enriching themselves because of their wickedness, they're just going to fall. And that's what they talk about. They're talking about mischief. They're talking about how can I get away with stuff? How can I build up myself more? Verse 3, through wisdom is an house builded, and by understanding it is established. And knowledge shall be the chambers. By knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increaseth strength. For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in multitude of counselors there is safety. Now, being wise is important, okay? Not smart, just knowing stuff, but wise is knowing how to apply stuff, basically, as well. As you are wise, as you look at not just knowing things, but how to appropriately apply things in life, that's going to help you to have abundance in your life and improve yourself. And one way to help you to be wise, and this is a great leadership principle, is counsels. Using a counsel, because again, if you go back to Proverbs 21, we talk about this idea of the map of perception or map of reality that we all use. When you're in a council, you're in a group of people that each person in that council has a different version of reality that they're responding to. Their maps are different. Some things are the same, but a lot is going to be different. The beauty is any holes in your map as a leader, any perceptual problems that you have in your map, your council has an opportunity to help fix. Your weaknesses will be overtaken by their strengths, and it will equal out, and you'll help each other to move forward. This is so important. This is why there's practically an entire chapter in the LDS Church Handbook dealing with councils, the importance of a council. A council isn't where you show up as a leader and go, here's what we're going to do. A council is not people who agree with you. A council is a group of people who think different than you do. And as you understand each other's perceptions, you understand where the truth is and where the fault is. Your perception is no more important than theirs. If you put yours as more important than theirs, it's not going to work out well, because anybody who thinks against you is going to be rejected. Even if you are wrong, you'll reject them because they're opposite you. So this sometimes happens, like an example of like a bishop or a stake president or a president of a presidency will come to a meeting and go, here's what I think we should do. What do you think? Now, in everybody else in that room, who in their right mind is going to say something contrary to what the president just said? Let's face it, if they're the leader and they've just stated their position, there's a stake in the ground. If where you think they should be is different and you present your opinion, you are now being seen as opposite the leader. So it's easy to peg you as the rebel. It's easy to peg you as the disruptor, as the person who's going against what we should be doing. And so this now puts wills against each other. And this is not what a council is about. This is not how you seek wisdom. You seek wisdom by understanding everybody's opinion. Everybody should have an opportunity to say what they want to say, regardless of whether they agree with you or not. In fact, especially if they disagree with you, they should be able to say what they want to say, because they may know something that you don't understand. And if you reject them, then there's no way to learn. You severely limit your ability to learn. So councils are important. Do those councils in a way so everybody's opinion is equal. A lot of bishops will do this, and leaders will do this in the sense of they will ask everybody else's opinion before they state what their opinion is, just to make it easier to say, I'm not going to put a stake in the ground. I just want to see where everybody else lies on this opinion, and I'm going to encourage people to share their opinions, even if it differs from everybody else's opinions. because I want to see where everybody else is, and then I'm going to take what that everybody else is saying, and we're going to come to a consensus on what we need to do. It's not you as a leader going, oh, I hear what everybody else says, I'm going to do what I think is important. It's we are going to come to an understanding of the truth ourselves. Get rid of ego, be humble, and realize everybody has value and can contribute. And it's amazing. This is that revelatory experience. If you've watched any of the lectures and discussions that Elder Bednar has done in some of the firesides and things he's done in the last few years, he talks about a revelatory experience in council meetings. And that's what he's talking about. Revelation doesn't come if one person says, this is what I'm going to do, and everybody else just goes, okay. That's not revelation. Revelation is everybody gets an opportunity to voice their opinion, and you look for the truth among the opinions. So everybody's opinion is equal. That's where you find the truth, and that's when the Spirit can really make a revelatory experience. So they're talking about here, again, for by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, in multitude of counselors there is safety. So war usually happens because someone is mad at someone else. If a council is called, it's hard for one person's opinion to override everybody else and make faulty decisions. So councils are a check and a balance on our own personal opinions to make things better, which is a really important point. Now, verse 7, wisdom is too high for a fool. He openeth not his mouth in the gate. So again, if wisdom is there's work, there's a higher standard to be hit. And if you're foolish, you're not going to hit that higher standard. You're not going to learn what you need to learn. So you've got to be willing to work to move up. Verse 8, he that deviseth to do evil shall be called a mischievous person. That's pretty straightforward. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. Very important to think about. Okay, just again, thoughts, not just actions, but our thoughts make a difference. Our thoughts is what drives our actions. So if you want to change your actions, change your thoughts. If you want to change your thoughts, change what you believe. If you want to change what you believe about yourself. The best way to change what you believe about yourself is change what you believe about God. The more you understand God, the more you understand yourself. The more you understand yourself, the more you'll understand the world. The more you understand the world, the more you will be able to think good things and think proper things. The more you think good things and proper things, the more you will do good things and proper things. It all ties together and works out. So very, very important for us to think about. Now verse 10, if thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. That might not seem like a lot, like, well, of course, if you faint in adversity, you don't have a lot of strength. But here's something that's really interesting to think about with this. Elder ElRay L. Christiansen commented in a conference report, April of 1969. He said, because it is necessary for our development, the Lord permits the bitter to be mixed with the sweet. He knows that our individual faith must be tested in adversity as well as in serenity. Otherwise, that faith may not be sufficiently developed when a condition arises that can be met through faith alone. So realize there are going to be times where it has to be your faith that sees you through the challenge. Okay, think about this in the idea of a faith crisis and other issues like that. So if your faith isn't being tested, you're not learning and getting better prepared for bigger challenges. It's okay. Adversity doesn't mean you are despised of God or you're wicked. Adversity means you are being tested. You have to be tested. A calm sea never made a good sailor. You have to be tested through challenges. And he continues, he says, even in times of trouble and tribulation, the gospel of Jesus Christ offers encouragement and gives assurance. So very important for us to think about. It's okay to have adversity. It's okay to have trials and challenges. It's okay to experience issues. Understand that as we apply our faith in God to those things, He will help us to overcome them, and it will build our faith in Him more, and even our faith in ourselves, so we can accomplish things with His help, and He'll continue to help us move forward. So we learn through adversity. We learn more through adversity than we do through happy times. So if you have nothing but happy times in your life, you're probably missing a lot of learning opportunities. You're probably holding yourself back, honestly, if it's all happy and there's no diversity or no adversity in there. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out and learn, expand, do things to help you to be better. Very, very important for us to think about. So verse 11 is an important one as well here as we move on. It says, if thou forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain. That might make not a lot of sense by itself, which is fine. So in the New Revised Version, it says, if you hold back from rescuing those taken away to death, those who go staggering to the slaughter. So we should be willing to help people. But verse 12, if thou sayest, behold, we knew it not, doth not he that pondereth the heart considereth it? And he that keepeth thy soul, doth not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works? So sometimes we're like, oh, we didn't realize they were going down the wrong path. And, we just kind of left that up to God. Sometimes that happens. Verse 13, he says, my son, eat thou honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to thy taste. That makes sense. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. When thou hast found it, then there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. Lay not wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place. For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. So, really interesting idea here is they transitioned from talking about my son to be careful. Do not lie in wait. Don't try to destroy other people, basically. And he talks about in verse 16, people who are good, who are just, who are trying to follow the right, keep getting up. They know, oh, something happened. This isn't good. I got feedback. Time to be better and improve. Whereas wickedness, if you are wicked, if you have those wicked beliefs and ideas, running into problems and adversity in life is not going to help you. Most likely because you caused it yourself. The lesson is don't do it again, but you're not going to learn. Now, verse 17 kind of goes along these ideas, but changes a little bit. It says in here, rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth. So we're going to have trials and problems. And if you're just, you're going to pick yourself up and learn and move forward because you're looking for truth. If you're wicked, you don't want the truth. So you're not going to learn, which means you're going to get in this feedback loop of not learning and just keep having problems. But then they're saying, do not rejoice when people that you hate are in that feedback loop, when they're having problems. So now, instead of looking at it from the person's perspective of falling into the trap, but the people outside that are watching this person fall into the problem, do not rejoice when they suffer. Because again, they could be suffering because of their own choices. It's just a consequence of it. They could be suffering because they're being tested. We shouldn't make a judgment call on them because of it, because we don't fully understand the motivations and the reasons what's going on in their life. So verse 18, here's why you should not rejoice in the fall of your enemy. Lest the Lord see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. So if God sees you are delighting in the destruction of somebody else, he may not let that person get destroyed. He may be like, all right, we're gonna switch it. Somebody else needs this lesson more than that person. So we're gonna take our wrath off of that person and move it. So you basically can jinx yourself if you're not careful. So let's just not judge other people, really, is what it comes down to. Now verse 19, fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked. For there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out. My son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. God doesn't change. Don't deal with the people who keep changing their opinions and ideas on stuff. Fear God. He will be there to help you. Respect God is what it means. Verse 22, for their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment. So again, do not judge arbitrarily. Don't be a respecter of persons in judgment. That's subjectiveness, not objectiveness. Verse 24, he that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous, him shall the people curse, nations shall abhor them. So this gets that idea of flip-flopping the idea of what is wicked and what is right. So if you take something that's wicked and go, yes, that is the right thing to do, because whatever reason, that's the cultural, societal norm, it's just acceptable to society to do it that way. It doesn't matter if it's acceptable to society or not. If it's wrong, it's still wrong. Even if you claim it's part of religion, if it's wrong, it's still wrong. This is an important thing to understand. Sometimes people follow religious ideas because they think it is right. And then they realize later it was wrong. We see this actually in understanding blacks in the priesthood in the LDS church in that capacity, that there were some bad mistakes. There were some problems that started probably around the time of Brigham Young that were made policy of the church later on, that took a revelation from God and a unity of the apostles to reveal, to say, nope, we're not doing that. We're moving, we're not going to follow that anymore. People make mistakes, and that's okay. It's not us to condemn them for making the mistakes. Again, God lets us have our agency and our ability to learn. That's so important for us to understand. It's important for us, again, to just realize that we shouldn't judge them. God has his reasons for what he does. So we want to be careful with that, all right? Very important. Verse 24, he that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous. Oh, sorry, I just read that one. Verse 25, but to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them. Now that doesn't say, hey, if you see somebody doing wicked, you should just rebuke people. Okay, if you see somebody doing wicked and you're like, hey, I think we need to improve, let's work on being better. That's great. Show forth that opportunity to say, hey, I care enough about you to correct you. But they have to still have their agency. You can't force them into change. They have to understand it. They still have to have their agency to choose. Verse 26, every man shall kiss his lips that giveth a right answer. Prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house. So be prepared. Get everything ready to go in proper order to make it work. Verse 28, be not a witness against thy neighbor without cause, and deceive not with thy lips. That's good advice. Don't lie about your neighbor. Don't get them into trouble if there is no trouble there. Verse 29, say not, I will do so to him as he hath done to me. I will render to the man according to his works. That is revenge. And it just says right there, don't do it. Don't deal with revenge. That's not what we're here about. God handles justice. God's going to make it all better. He's going to figure it all out. That's what the purpose of the atonement is. It's not our job to do that. Our job is to love people and to work on loving God more. Verse 30, I went by the field of the slothful and the vineyard of the man void of understanding, and lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instructions. So just realize you might see other people aren't as good as you are at things. They might not be as organized as you, or might not have as many challenges as you. But that doesn't make them lesser of a person. You need to be willing to go, what's going on with this person? How can I understand them and their situation? And you might get into it and go, you know what? I don't blame them for being where they're at. Their house is a mess. Oh, I can't judge people because their house is a mess. They've got 5 little kids, and that, no wonder it's hard, or they have a disability, or they have challenges. You have to understand where they're coming from. Don't judge them from your perspective until you have understood theirs. Really don't judge them anyways, really. Now verse 33, yet a little sleep, a little a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. So just realize judging others you're going to have problems. This is, if you remember the play Oedipus Rex, is a good lesson from Oedipus Rex is understand that fates change. Things happen. People are on top and then they're on the bottom. So be rejoiceful for them for being on top and help them when they're on the bottom. Don't just, oh, whatever, I'm going to judge people for this, because you never know what their fortune really is going to hold. You don't know what trials they've had or the challenges they've had to overcome to be where they are. So withhold judgment. Show more mercy to people. Very, very important point. So let's jump over to the next Proverbs as we continue to learn.